निष्ठा प्रेयर कर रही है।
ओके ओके
कुंद कुंद रच्यूं शास्त्र साथिया अमृते पूर्या ग्रंथादिराजता रामा भावो ब्रह्मांड ना भर्या बनावु पत्र कुंदन्ना रत्नो नाक्षरो लखी तथापि कुंद सूत्रो नाम अंकाय मूल्य ना कदी. Should I also do Samayasara Mangalacharan? Or is it okay?
Yeah, better.
Yeah, thank you. Namah Samaysaraya Swaनुभूत्या Chakasate Chit Swabhavaya Bhavaya Sarvabhavantarachide Vande Tu Savasiddhe Dhuv Machal Manomavam Gadim Pate Vuchami Samay Pavud Medamo Sud Kevali Bhanidam.
So in the last lecture,
Jai Jayanti.
Jai Jayanti, we talked something about Kunkundacharya and the knowledge approach of Samayasara.
रख दे मोबाइल, चल गया ये, चार्ज नहीं था, चल गया.
Real and associated viewpoints. These are things that we talked about it last time. And today I'm going to talk on two topics. One relating to, basic topic is experience of the soul, because we discussed last time that the purpose of Jain philosophy and the purpose of Samayasara is to highlight how one can have experience, how we can have Atmanubhav. That is the crux of the whole Jain philosophy, and that's the crux or the essence of Samayasara also. And in several verses, it talks about the experience of the soul. So we cannot cover the entire subject, but a few things that I would like to cover today. For experiencing soul, what is most important is resolving conflicts, because as we try to understand the soul, there will be, there is a need for Anekantvad, and once we know the Anekantvad, there will be some conflicts as we can be perceived in terms of attributes of the soul, in terms of the properties of the soul, and then once they are resolved, then only one can walk towards the experience of pure soul.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
सर वॉल्यूम बहुत कम है सर, आपकी आवाज कुछ
नहीं आ रही है, एक सेकंड.
नहीं सर, थोड़ा और इफेक्टिवली चाहिए सर, क्योंकि विषय गंभीर है. और
हाँ, ओके, आई विल जस्ट पुट ऑन समथिंग. जस्ट गिव मी 1 सेकंड.
आप थोड़ा माइक के पास. हाँ सर, समझ गए.
Can you hear now? Hello, is it better now? Hello.
A little better, sir, now.
Okay. So these two things we'll try to, we have to resolve, sorry. We have to resolve conflicts in our understanding, because that creates a lot of difficulties or roadblocks in the path of experience. And hence, after doing that only, we can think of experience of the pure soul. Of course, in resolving conflicts, there are conflicts in terms of doer and deed relationships. And that also try to discuss in short. And then sum up the whole issue of experience of the soul, or experience of Atmanubhava, experience of the pure soul, which is the subject matter of Samayasara. So with this little introduction, I start on the topic today. Relevance of this Anekantvad, because you just see there is only one thing to be understood, one soul to be understood, but then it has so many types of reflections. In so many ways it can be described, and that's why we have to have a better understanding of this. Of course, all of you would have heard the name Anekantvad, and of course, in the introduction to Samayasara also, it has been mentioned, and Amritchandracharya also talks about in his Kalash about the Anekantmayi Murti, Nityameva Prakashatam, like that. So Anekant becomes the crucial factor to understand it. Of course, you would have studied it in a different subject or in this course, but I would like to put it my way so that briefly it is understood, and then we will be able to discuss it a little more detail. Of course, what is Anekant? To just recapitulate, Anek means many, more than one, and Ant means attributes, nature, and ultimate objective. So that's how the Ant becomes very important, because if there are attributes of the soul, there are several attributes, rather infinite attributes. And if we have to experience those many infinite attributes, then we need to have some sort of a resolve in our mind, or resolution of conflicts among the properties in mind, so that we can experience the soul. And of course, Vadam is view or philosophy or logic. And there is a different way of looking at Anekant. N is a non one-sided ekant, no, and non one-sidedness. That can also be one meaning of an ekant. So the basic problem is that reality is very complex. The soul is a real thing, and to understand the real soul is very tough. And tough means unless we become calm and understand it fully. So something that exists eternally, that's a reality, and that is the pure soul. In this case, we want to understand, or we want to understand any object in the universe. We have to have Anekant approach to understand that. So we talked of approach in terms of knowledge that Samayasara adopts, and that approach has to be characterized by Anekantvad. Then only is possible to understand the soul, or the pure soul. It has multi dimensions, and each dimension is true from that viewpoint. So if you look at, say, 47 properties of the soul listed, or properties of the soul which are there in several verses of the, rather each verse of Samayasara, then it has to be understood from the two perspective. And another complication that comes is that all attributes exist simultaneously. So when all attributes exist simultaneously, how it is to be viewed, which one is to be given more importance than the others, that becomes the crucial issue. And that's how
and these attributes may look contradictory and conflicting, and that's how actually there is no real conflict, and that's why we have to have an understanding to be cleared, or understanding has to be enhanced. You see, if you remember last lecture, we said that, okay, Samayasara has an approach in terms of knowledge. Okay. So if you look at knowledge as one attribute, there are other attributes also. And if you look at from karmic angles also, and the attributes that go with each karma, then out of 8 karmas or 8 attributes that Siddha has, we are discussing only one attribute. And if it is only one attribute, then how can we understand the soul? Okay. So that's how it becomes, rather, we have to pay more attention to understand Anekantvad in a true perspective, and then the conflict will go away. Otherwise, you see, look at that example I just gave. Samayasara is using knowledge approach. Okay. So that means, of course, if you look at from Jnana Karma, it is knowledge approach. Then there can be darshan approach also. Then there can be Muni approach also to soul. And there can be Vedani approach to soul also. There can be so many ways. Okay. All the 8 important attributes of soul, or we can say infinite attributes of the soul, then the soul can be ascribed or can understood in infinite ways. Then how to resolve the things? And that's why Samayasara resolves that thing particularly, saying that yes, all other attributes are important, all other things can be viewed in different ways, but then we are looking purely from the knowledge angle, because soul is made of knowledge and nothing else. Atma Jnanam Swayam Jnanam Jnanam Anya Karoti Kim. So knowledge itself is, soul is made of knowledge, and that's why we are having a knowledge approach. So these kind of things get resolved only when we understand Anekantvan. So some of you might be knowing it well, Anekantvan, but we'll just try to, in 5-10 minutes, try to recapture so that our understanding becomes clear. And those who have not understood Anekant in a right perspective, maybe it will help them. See, the first basic thing to understand is that it is about one object. Anekant cannot be applied to all sides everywhere and just right and left wherever you want. Say example, all dharmas are true in some perspective, so everything is true in all religions. Cannot be described that way. In the same way, all views are okay. They are right from certain perspective. So all the views in the universe can be accommodated as the Jain philosophy is concerned. No, this is not what it says. Okay, it says very clearly, and Amrachandra Acharya in the Parishist says very clearly that Anekant has to be applied and in one unit, one object only, one reality. And here that reality is pure soul, and that's how it has to be applied. So that's why a small annexure is given even to the book that we have given to you in terms of a sense of Samayasara. There also this aspect is described, and it is not that I'm trying to just impose this topic here, but it is the fact. Without understanding this, there will be always conflicts. Soul is like this also, soul is like that. Then how do we reconcile the things and then try to understand what exactly the soul is? So just to recapitulate in a small way, all of you know that story of 6 blind persons and how they describe. Somebody says it's a fan, somebody says it's a wall, somebody says it is spear, snake, whatever. It is like a tree, it is like a rope. Like that, there are different people. There are 6 blind persons and 6 knowledgeable persons. Understand that way. So blind people will describe this way. This is the way a blind person, that is who doesn't understand Anekant, will describe from one-sided, one angle. But then all of you know that, suppose imagine not a blind person, but with a person with eyes. Okay. And the person with right eyes or with eyes is seeing at the elephant, He will not describe this way. Okay, he will describe that it's an elephant and it has whatever trunk, or it has a teeth, or whatever. It has a whatever a trunk and so many things, a tail and so many things like that. And he will see, a person with eyes will see elephant as one unit, and that one unit has different parts. So that's how it is going to be different one. So unless it is understood very well, actually the story in all scriptures is given about this elephant. It is a very famous story. It is given in other scriptures also, in other philosophies also, and in so many ways it is, this example is used. But to use this for aneka, to understand the pure soul, that pure soul is one, like one elephant, but it can be described in so many ways. So you cannot describe as you wish. Okay? It has to be understood and interpreted only the way the reality is. So elephant has to be described in elephant, the manner in which the elephant looks like, and not with a blind kind of a person who will describe it very differently. So if you look, I just gave my example here just to illustrate. A person can be described in so many ways. Whatever. I'm a teacher, okay. I'm a student also. If I describe my student life, I am a brother to somebody, I'm an uncle to somebody, I'm a father to somebody, I'm a son to somebody, I'm an uncle to somebody, I'm a husband of somebody, I'm a PhD holder, I have a grandson or daughters. So these are all expressions have to be for one person and one soul. If these descriptions of Anekant are not for one person or one soul as it is our subject matter, then it is not going to help us out. Okay, we'll be understanding something, we'll reason it out, and all properties of the soul, or 47 or infinite properties, will not be able to comprehend, because we'll try to explain a different way. Take the example of a human being. It is the same human being who is born as a child, then the same human being grows and becomes an adult, and the same human being grows further old and becomes old person and dies. Okay, the same person who is born dies. Okay, then it makes a meaning. But if we compare different people, okay, that this is a child and this is an adult person and this is an old person and like that, then we will not be able to really understand the crux. Okay, assuming that everybody is same all the time. Okay, so it has to be understood. Human life has to be understood only for that individual only. In the same way, uh, if we look at Anekantvad, in the same way, soul has to be understood only from one particular point of view, and that is pure soul's point of view, its eternality and so on. Okay, reality is very complex, and it is a subject of Praman. Praman, you know, when all the things are described together. And like say, describing gold, gold is so familiar to us, all of us. But to describe gold is very complex, because you can describe in terms of color, you can describe in terms of some other properties of gold, in terms of ornaments, in terms of so many ways it can be described. So although we may feel happy that we have understood that the gold is yellow in color, and then we think that yes, that's all. But it is not so. It has so many other properties also. So viewpoints are many and relevant to that object. And like that, like in case of gold, it does not decay. It is a durable thing. It does not get rusted. It is useful in ornaments. It is scarce, not easily available. It is valuable. Forms of gold vary in terms of so many ornaments and like that. So gold has so many properties. Okay, and if you just say that yes, gold is yellow in color and say yes, that's all I know about gold, then that is not a real description. So that's what we have to understand rightly. Okay. Similarly, if we look at Amritchandracharya's commentary, he says that views on matters look alike and sometimes opposite to one another, yet describe the same object. Okay. So that's what he says in the verse 247. And this is an infallible concept of Jain philosophy. It can never be disproved. Okay, one has to agree. If one undertakes the logic, then one has to agree that the all objects in the universe are like that, and soul is to be understood only from that particular angle and nothing else. Some few more examples just to clarify the point, because it has to be understood very clearly. Say, consider following illustrations. Conflicting properties of water, okay, such as hot and cold. Might have heard these kind of things about Anekantvad, but here we have to understand it well. Okay, so their hotness and coldness both are opposite to one another, yet water has the same properties. Okay? So this has to be really understood. Otherwise, you say no, these two are different things. In the same way, as I just gave, the one can be father, son, uncle, student, teacher, depending on the relation that we are describing. Another example is a medicine can cure a person or kill a person. So it is some people say it's a relative. No, it's a relative in the sense that a particular relationship is described. Okay. Same way, milk is sweet, but when it turns into curd, it becomes sour. Okay. दही खट्टा हो जाता है, but milk sweet है. So there are opposite, looks like opposite properties, but it has. Same thing, as I said, gold is yellow in color, but they have entirely different properties also. Another example is, which is very interesting. Where is Delhi in India, for example? So a person from whatever, a person from Kashmir will say that Delhi is in south. Okay? And a person from south will say that Delhi is in north. And a person from West Bengal will say that Delhi is in west. And a person from Punjab will say that Delhi is in east. So where is Delhi? In all the four directions, it is described by different people differently. So Delhi is where it is. It is neither in west, nor in east, nor in south, nor in north. Delhi is wherever it is. In the same way, soul is what it is. Okay. We may describe in so many ways, but it is what it is. Okay. So Delhi is where it is. Okay. Another example, say with respect to Delhi again, in terms of Anekantvad, that how far is Delhi? So depending on the person, whoever is standing wherever he is, the distance will vary. Okay. So if somebody say that, say person like in Mathura and where we live, people will say that yes, Delhi is about say 180 kilometers away. Okay. While a person in south will say that Delhi is 2000 kilometers away or more than 2000 kilometers. Same way, person from Noida will say that yes, Delhi is only 20 or 30 kilometers, depending on where he's standing. Okay. So then how far is Delhi? So it is Anekant has to be understood that this is with respect to wherever the person is standing and from whichever place we are talking about. But Delhi doesn't become different. Okay, it is the same way. Like that, in a Shadvar Shali, about the soul, we have to understand what I want to say, that the whole universe is in terms of, has to be understood in terms of Anekant. And in the same way, soul, pure soul, has to be understood in terms of Anekant only. Of course, I will not go into detail, but that's how the Saptabhangi also is born out of it. So in one line, I'll try to explain briefly that Syat Asti means existence of reality. And suppose I live in Delhi, if somebody says like that, then Syat Nasti means one who lives in Delhi or one who lives in Jaipur, for example, he or she doesn't live anywhere in the world. Okay, all the places in the world. So you have to count all the villages and cities in the world to say that where do not live. But then we simply say that I live in a particular city and then negate all the other places, not only on the earth, but also in the universe at that particular moment of time. So whole life is Anekantma, and that's how we have to understand. And again, this Syata Vaktavya, because it cannot be expressed, because both Asti and Nasti are together, and otherwise also truth cannot be expressed. In the same way, soul cannot be expressed I mean, I'm not taking Saptabhangi as a discussion here, but only trying to say that all these attributes apply to soul. Soul exists as a reality, but it is non-existence from the other point of view, other reality, and it is inexpressible. We cannot express what the soul is about, so we have to experience it, and like that we can go into other dispositions of Saptabhangi and say that the only way left for us is to experience the soul. There is no other way to understand soul. Words cannot describe because it is inexpressible. It is both existing and not. It has certain characteristics as it exists. It doesn't have certain characteristics because it doesn't exist in it. So when both are there, we cannot describe in one way or in one few minutes. And so all these seven things make it compulsory for us to experience the soul. Other substance all to be experienced. They cannot be described. There is a way or there is a limit beyond which we cannot describe. It has to be understood, and that's why the soul has to be understood. Why I'm covering this point? Because somebody might have this question in mind that why do we have to experience soul? Where is need for experience? Why do you say that we have to experience it? Can there be any other way to understand and realize the soul? So here the sense is that any object in the universe, even if you have to describe ghee, for example, it cannot be explained in one word. Okay? Cannot be ascribed because such words might be common to other liquids also. So other oils also. So like that, if we go little more and more, we cannot describe the sweetness of say gulab jamun, for example, and so on. You just take any example in life. It is not possible to describe beyond certain words, and ultimately it is understood only through experience and not otherwise. If Samayasara gives one example of using salt, okay, whether the salt is more in the vegetable or less in the vegetable or sabji that we have cooked, the only way is to taste, experience, and then realize whether it is more or less, or how good is vegetables made, how good is sabji made. That has to be experience only. So we cannot distinguish, for example, sweetness of gulab jamun, sweetness of rasgulla, and like that. We all say that it's all sweet, but the sweetness differs in terms of whatever combination with the other things that they have. So in the same way, nothing in this universe can be so simple. It looks so simple, but it is not so. Some long sentences have come, but what I want to say here is only that soul is interpreted in some of one particular characteristics, but it has a multiple characteristics. Same thing which I generally explain. And some people say that it is ekantavad. That's what we have to understand in this slide only. Some people say that it is ekantavad, but it is not so. It is not ekantavad. Every substance, there cannot be ekantavad for anything. For describing or for exclusive characteristics, we can use some ekantvad. Like I said, no? Knowledge approach to Samayasara. Then knowledge becomes exclusive, one characteristic, and then we describe on that basis. So that way it becomes anekant, but it is what they call samyak anekant or samyak ekant, and not anekant in that sense. Samyak ekant. So that way things become okay. Similarly, say these principles of anekantvad and shadvad complement each other and are spontaneous and self-proven. It is not that only Jain philosophy has invented this and like that. It is not so. It is built into the structure of the substance itself. But Jain philosophy uses this to explain the nature of substances. And that's how we have to understand. If we do not understand the soul, understanding of the soul may get jeopardized. We will not be able to understand the soul. And that's why this Shadvad and Naikant, they becomes very, very important concept to understand the soul. This I would just like to, as I add here, that this anekant has a universal application. It applies everywhere. I mentioned a statement earlier, but then just understand it a little bit that it is not unique. It is the concept is unique to Jain philosophy, but the concept is so well explained, and it's a reality, and it has a universal application that is applies anywhere. Whether you talk of all conflicts are because people emphasize one particular point and neglect the other points. We don't understand a person. Sometimes we say, no, I don't understand you or that person. We don't understand that person because we are viewing only from one particular angle and not viewing from the another angle. So like that, okay. Uh, One may, as we described an individual earlier, an individual may be a terrorist, maybe a common human being, like that. So in every subject, every field of life, in every species, it can be applied. It can be applied in psychology, it can be applied in religion, it can be applied in physics, medicines, chemistry, economics, political science, everywhere. Dealing with terrorism, no. Like some people say that, okay, attack in parliament took place because of unemployment. That's the one view. Another view is that it is all Naxalites or communist people who are doing that with that philosophy. They are driven. Third view is that, okay, they want to um, oppose for the sake of opposing Modi, okay, because elections are coming. They are doing drama. Like there's so many, you name any issue, and then there will be so many ways to describe that. If a person dies, for example, talking of what happens to somebody in Pakistan and like that, then there are so many versions of that type of story, because maybe all are true in a particular way, or maybe some are not true. But this concept of multifacetedness or anekantwas has a universal application. It can be applied to food. A vegetable sabji has so many masalas, and what we experience is the combination of all the masalas, all these spices, and based on that only we try to say that yes, a vegetable is prepared well or not prepared well, or appreciate the one who has made the vegetable. And we are also able to experience that if the salt is less or salt is more, for example. So that way it is understood. I was having some small reading some jokes type of things that uh, the husband said that to the wife that today you put a lot of salt in the vegetable, in the sabji, so it doesn't taste well. And the wife replies immediately that it is not my fault. You have brought vegetables less in quantity. I'm putting the same salt as I'm doing every day, but today you have brought less quantity or lesser quantity of vegetables, and that's why you are feeling that uh, it is salty, or the salt is like that. This angle can be changed, and one can describe the same thing in a very different way. So one has to be aware while understanding the soul also. One has to be aware that we take the right way and not the other way. Like none has absolutely false belief like Gadhe ke Singh, donkey's horns, or Akash Kusum, flowers blossoming in the sky. That's what Samant Bhadracharyya says. And of course, like that, a glass of water doesn't mean that glass is made of water. We say glass of water, ghee ka ghada, or glass of water, pani ka glass. But glass is not made of pani. Okay? Pani is different and water is different. So like that, one has to understand this concept of Anekantvad very clearly, that in what respect it has been said. Uh, of course, it is different thing that there is no absolute scope for communalism and saying that one type of argument is only right. The other line is very important here. The conflict seems to be in words and not in matter. Okay. Where is the conflict? Where is Shadvat? Why do we need Shadvat? Because our understanding is not clear. In the substance, there is no आत्मा में कोई अनेकानवाद नहीं है. आत्मा तो जैसी है वैसी है. Soul is as it is. But we don't have a good understanding of the soul, and that is why we have to use this concept and try to understand what is really. So the conflict lies in words, not in the object There is no conflict in the object, no conflict in the substance, or padartha mein, vastu mein, there is no conflict. Conflict hamari understanding mein, because we are not able to understand well, and that's why we say it is conflicting and like that. So there is a saying also that little knowledge is dangerous thing. In the same way, that if you don't understand a object very properly or from all respect, then we have to have problems in understanding that thing. So all as far as Jain religion is concerned, all substances are independent, timeless, and remain the same over a period of time. Only forms takes many modifications and thus changeable over time. So things change, but what changes? It is only the forms, the modifications. पर्याय बदलती हैं. The substance, vastu same hai. It remains the same. Substance is the same, only the modification change. And so never say that the substance has changed. Things are changing. Things are not changing. People often say things are changing. Where is thinking? Basic things remain the same. The earth is the same. Human beings are the same. Everything is same. Only their modifications are changing. So that's how we have to understand it very well. Oh, I'm changing. People have changed. People have changed means what? Sometimes in the childhood, the person was like that. And when he has grown old, he has changed. Okay. Change means what? What has changed? Only parya, thinking in parya has changed. Modifications have changed, and now this substance. So like that, we have to understand very carefully as we talk of experience. So what we are, why I'm saying that? Because what we are experiencing, do we want to experience the substance? Or do you want to experience the parya? Or do you want to experience the attributes? Or we want to experience all together? So what is that we have to understand and experience? That becomes very relevant questions, and that arises out of these explanations of Anekantvad only, nothing else. Now, with this Anekant type, we apply to soul, okay? This is also from the annexures given. It is there in the book also. Sense of Samayasara, in the, as an annexure, it is there. So there are, soul can be described at least in 14 ways. 47 properties, that is a different thing. But in terms of types of description, it can be described in 14 ways. And that is, it is Gyan Sarup, that is Tat Sarup. Sorry. As it is, not Tattva, as it is. So that knowledge of soul is knowledge, or Gyan Sarup hai. It is made of knowledge. So it can be described that way, or you call it Tattva that way. Then every substance has its own nature and not nature of the other substances. Like Samayasara, we say Swasamay and Parsamay, something like that. But this is not exactly same. But what it means that every substance has its own nature and it doesn't have properties of other substances. Like Jeev is Jeev, Atma is Atma. It does not have properties of Pudgal. Pudgal properties of taste, etc., touch, etc., they are not there in the soul. So if you want to experience soul, it is a different way. If you want to experience the Pudgal, it is a different way. A soul knows other substances but does acquire properties of other substances. Soul retains its own unitary ekatva nature. Soul can, very simple, soul knows everything or can know other substances, but does not acquire the properties of these substances. It is only one only. With eyes, we can see so many things, okay? But eye remains eye, human beings remain human beings, soul remains soul. The things from outside do not enter into the eyes or into the soul. They remain separate. Okay? So that way, Atma has a ekatva. It is one-sided only. Although we can describe in two sides, that is a knowledge and it has a knowledge of substance, swa also, and knowledge of par. Own knowledge as well as other objects. But it remains unitary as far as eternal nature is concerned. Similarly, while knowing other substances, soul knows many forms and properties of them, and thus gains true or complete knowledge while retaining its unitary character. So same point that I just explained, that it knows, but it does not give up its own character. Like that, in the fifth, while external objects are subject matter of senses and existing, it has to be recognized through its knowledge. This is the point I'm going to take it other next time. I mean, next just a few slides later on. That all objects can be seen through senses, through eyes or through touch or through smell or by hearing sound, and like that we can know other subjects. But soul cannot, soul cannot be realized through that kind of a thing. We can have that kind of knowledge, but that's a knowledge of other substances. But soul cannot be realized or understood that way. So it is true only in that respect. And there is a complete absence of other substances in the soul. So again, it is ekantvad. So there is of course, some of you must be very familiar that there is a lot of controversy in Jain community. Some people say that Samayasara talks about ekanta. It is only talks about only soul, okay, while neglecting other substances and like other things and like that. Then here is the answer, okay. Acharya Amritchandra himself gives that yes, it can't be, it has to be understood in ekantavadi when it describes its nature. When we describe the nature of the soul, it has to be a one-sided view of the soul only. But because soul knows other objects and like that, we have to say that it is anekant. That is one way of looking at it. Soul does not have one property, it has many properties. So it cannot be explained in one property, and that is why, but through knowledge we can understand the soul, so it becomes anekant. But soul has many properties, and that's why it becomes anekant. Like that, depending on what way we are talking about, we have to understand the difference. Same way, the soul resides or exists in own space, swakshetra, astitva. But it remains in the same way, say eyes or our body remains in the same way where the soul is, but we are able to see and understand the other objects outside our body, outside the things. So although it remains within it, it doesn't go away from that. But it is able to see the other spaces, acquire knowledge, but other space points do not enter the soul. Like I said, eyes, no? Eyes can look at the fire, but the fire does not enter into the eyes. It remains as it is. Okay. So that's the way soul knows. So the other objects do not enter. Parakshetra does not exist in the soul. Soul has its own places. Okay. Similarly, soul's knowledge of various forms in different time dimensions appear to be different, and like they appear and disappear and like that happens. So, but it is own, soul is like that, okay. The paryas, changes, modification, change. And so soul may look like different object at times, but it is not so. In the same way, a Shyadvadi believes the absence of soul's time dimension, parkal, swakal and parkal. The soul has its own timings. It is on clock, no, sorry. Soul has its own watch, no, on clock, okay. Its own, not of the other substances. Okay. So people say also that we have our own watch, our own time. Soul keeps its own time, okay. So for example, when a person dies, okay, soul dies because of his own timings, okay? Not because the body has died. And body dies because of its own timings, the karmic bondages of that time. It is not that the soul has died, sorry, body has died, so soul has gone away. It is not so. Neither body dies, nor soul dies, okay. Soul only changes the form. In the same way, body also, atoms also change their forms. So nobody dies. Okay. Both are eternal subjects. So unless we understand it properly in terms of time dimension also, in terms of modifications, we will not be able to realize the pure soul. Same way, Svabhavastitva and Parbhavastitva. The soul's property remain as they are, and but soul has a knowledge of other subjects. In the same way, Parbhav and Nastitva, the other things do not enter into the soul. Knowledge Nityatva. Knowledge depends, because we talk soul as characterized as a knowledge. The knowledge differs in forms depending on the object of knowledge. But soul remains eternal because it has eternal nature. Okay. But if there is there are changes, that the changes are on terms of paryaya, in terms of modifications, and not otherwise. So the last one is that it looks nitya as well as anitya. Okay. From paryaya angle, it is anitya, but from substance angle, it is nitya. Soul substance remain the same while paryaya changes. So to sum up, a soul has to be comprehended in the above manner through different aspects based on anekantavad, and through different aspects through anekantavad. And this makes knowledge, and the belief, right belief, contrary to false belief. So this anekantavad is necessary to eliminate those mithyatva. Mithyatva creeps into our thoughts directly or indirectly, unless we understand those things. And that's why this has to be understood very clearly. One more point, then we'll stop for a while, is about sixfold classifications. That is also given as an annexure in the book, The Essence of Samayasara. And of course, it flows directly from doer-deed relationship. But just to spend a couple of minutes on that, you might have said it is out of, base is verse 73, saying that the experience that we want to have, because we are talking of soul's experience. So up till this, we were talking of external thing. Then in the next part, second part, we'll go how to experience the soul. So what is not there in the soul or experience is this sixfold things, okay? Different causes that cause experience and like that. So karta, karma, karan, sampradana, apadana, all those 6 types of currents are there. And here the verse 73 and the Samayasara in general says that it is beyond all those things. Okay? And with engrossment of the nature of soul, I arrest all karmas. So soul is beyond karmas. Okay. If we experience, when we experience the type of soul, okay, and we say that we are experiencing karma, then we are not experiencing the soul. Okay. We have to experience the soul itself. Okay. So soul is beyond these sixfold causations like doer, deed, karta, karma, sampradana, padana, adhikaran, all those kind of things. It is beyond that. And that's what we have to understand. And in the book, it is given as annexure 13 to say this. And it is very important that to experience the soul, if not understood, I just took it from the same book. I'm just taking one example. That pure soul that we have to experience, our subject is experiencing the pure soul. We want to experience it. Then who is the doer? This is pure soul, okay. Its properties is knowledge. Then pure forms, a given pure form is the things, okay. So it is all about pure soul, okay, nothing about other things. In an experience, if he says a doer, it is the soul all the way. And if we see the deed, what is the karya? Karta, karma. So what karma, what action has been done, then it is nothing but of pure soul only. Of course, its property is knowledge, and it is a form of knowledge only. Modification, your pure form or the paryaya is also made of knowledge. Okay. Substance is made of knowledge, and paryaya is also made of knowledge. And so, in a pure soul, if you look at it, it will be a pure form. And that's why a deed, the karma, is also that of pure. And if we do not believe that I am a pure soul, then it is not possible to experience the pure soul, because these things will become different. Same thing means. So, by its own power, pure soul, by its own power, that power of knowledge, it experiences the pure soul and the pure form modifications. Same thing, purpose is only soul, and it is because of knowledge, and it is made of knowledge only. Source, it comes from where? It comes from the Prem soul. It is done, purpose means for the soul, and source means from the soul. And if you look at the supporting adhikaran like that, it is soul only provides the basis. So the you can study detail in whenever you get some time. But here, just to explain that without understanding that these all the 6 modes or whatever are in the pure soul only and not by external things. So a famous example is given, you are all familiar, that doer, when we say doer is an external thing. For example, making up a pot. So karta, we say potter, potter is the maker, and karma is whatever paid. Then we say that what is the means? So means is wheel, road, etc. So we, or making a pot, we can say what is the real thing? Real view is that it is all soil. Doer is also soil. Karta is also soil. Karma is also soil, and means also soil, and the other things are also soil. Like that, if we say, then we understood it rightly. But if we say that it is different things, all the 6 factors we identify differently, like in this example of a making of a pot, that pot is making a, so potter is a different human being. Pot is a pudgal. No, it's a different thing, entirely different thing. Potter exists separately, pot exists separately, and the disc, wheel, etc., they also exist separately. It's not going. Ah. So then we look at the purpose, then for storing water. Okay, pot is made for storing water, and then it is done by taking soil from the basket source, and then by putting on the earth, with the support of earth, it has been done. So all the 6 factors are different. But if you look at from the Nishchay viewpoint, or for reality sake, reality, we are talking of not Nishchay, actually reality here. So it is all soil or clay throughout. It is made of soil, it is made of its base is soil, and all the 6 substances are soil. In the same way, when we realize the pure soul, when we experience the pure soul, it is all the way pure soul. All the 6 causation is soul. The experience is done by the soul, for the soul, with the soul, basis of soul, everything pure soul. Okay. With the knowledge of pure soul, all the 6 have to be understood only in terms of this causation. Then only it is possible to really understand it. So I will stop for a few minutes here. If there is any question, then otherwise we'll go further. Now to about the real experience of the pure soul, how does it happen? I hope it is not becoming difficult. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. No reaction? What is this? That means everybody is understood very well, no problem. Then I can go further, I suppose. Okay. So when we experience the soul, which is the object of this chapter, what are the things to be taken into account? You see, what happens that we go for lectures in so many places in India and abroad. And then some people do ask that, some people say that they've experienced the soul. Those who have some knowledge, they say they've experienced the soul. And they keep on asking us also whether you experience the soul or not. That kind of a question is always there. So the point is that experiencing the soul is a very, I don't say difficult task, it is surge only, but otherwise from the social and from the angle of efforts, it is a difficult task. And as per Dhaval and other Shetkandagams commentaries, there can be hardly few people who might have experienced soul, because they said that there are so many people around the in the Dhai who have experienced the soul. They run in terms of some crores of people who have experienced the soul. But when we take the ratio, even if it is a few hundred crores, as a ratio of a 29-digit number of population that exist in the Dhai, then the ratio will work out to almost a few people, okay? Less than 10 or something like that. There is no specific number, but I'm just saying the number will be so small, okay? As small as single digit number, okay? So then how it becomes difficult to experience the same, although it may happen spontaneously. So it is not that it cannot be experienced by you or me or by anybody. It is possible to experience it. We can be also one of the chosen few people. Okay? So it is possible. But the way is that we have to go through the process in which Jinwani prescribes. Okay? In Samayasara 17, 18 gathas, 17, 18 verses, 17 and 18, they talk of Jeev Raja, the king, soul as a king. And then if you want to get favors from the king, you have to have a knowledge of the king, that he is the right king, and he is the king. So knowledge and belief that he is the king, Samyak Darshan and Samyak Gyan. And then after knowing only that, you approach him for some benefit that you want to have it. Consider an example that a person has some diamond which is invaluable. Maybe it has a value in terms of hundreds of crores. Okay. It's an older example, old times example. Rajas are still there. You can think of a very rich person as the king for this particular purpose. So if he has that kind of a diamond, he will not sell it easily, or he will not talk about it too easily. He has to play a smart game. Okay, first try to find out who is the king, whether he's interested in buying that kind of diamond. He will acquire that kind of a knowledge, but he will not tell everybody about that he's having a diamond. Okay. In the same way, if you have the experience of the soul, you don't tell others that whether I have experience or not and what should I do and like. It's not generally told. because people will raise so many questions and like that. So anyway, so that goes that right faith or right conduct and right belief, right conduct, uh, follow the knowledge that you have about the king and like that. So in the same way, so many things are done. So if we have to experience the pure soul, let us go into some more details. I am taking the example of verse 73, and from that basis, where it is said that we should experience the soul. When we try to experience the soul, it is not possible to experience the soul through any symbolic things. It is beyond symbol. So people who try to meditate and say that I experienced the soul, it was like a light. When I experienced the soul, it was like a god, it was like a temple statue, or so many ways. Okay. I saw recently I read somewhere that somebody said that I had an experience of Adinath Bhagwan telling me that you do like this and like that. So how the Adinath Bhagwan would have come and told him or her that it is like that. So many things. People don't know what is the experience, okay, and their own way they describe, because they get emotional about certain things or they get committed to certain things, and then they say that yes, Bhagwan has come in my dream, or Bhagwan has come and showed me the path, and so many things. All these things are not possible. They're only generally not possible. Rare exceptions are apart. So anyway, we have to have a experience of the pure soul, and that is possible possible. Okay. So the pure soul cannot be realized, understood, or even experienced through any symbol or symbolic expressions. Okay. This concept is known as Alingran. It is there in many of the scriptures, including Dhaula commentary. It is there. It is there in Niyamsar. It is there in Pravachansar. It is there in Samayasara. It is in so many scriptures. This particular verse is quoted, and that's why I thought. And it talks about experience. So I thought I will take this as one example as how to experience the pure soul. So that's what I'm going to do in next few minutes. So it cannot be. So if somebody is thinking that, okay, I look at the middle of the whatever head or whatever this particular part, and then experience the soul, it is not possible. Okay. Any symbol, or if I look at the symbol of God or whatever, symbol of Jainism or so many swastik or shape of Siddha Bhagwan, and then I will be able to realize the soul, it is not possible. Okay. Because you will get involved into that kind of a symbol or that impression, and experience of soul is not going to take place. Okay. So anyway, this is the reference to 49 Gatha of Samayasara, and same way it is there in Pravachansar 172, and it gives at least 20 things. What should we observe or notice or distinguish when we experience the pure soul? Okay. So it can go for 20 days, this lecture, but we'll try to explain all these 20 points in a few minutes. Okay. First thing and foremost thing is that if there is any sense perception, 5 senses, whatever is known and experienced by the 5 senses is not a realization of pure soul. Experience of pure soul is beyond these senses. So if you look at certain things with eyes, or hear about something, or perceive something through any one of the senses, that soul is beyond senses. Okay. So whatever knowledge that we acquire through senses is not going to help us to experience the pure soul. Soul doesn't work through senses. Soul has its own knowledge and works of its own and it is automatic. It doesn't need the support of senses. Okay. While our day-to-day life needs support of senses, in sansar we do need support of senses and like that. But when it comes to experience of the soul, senses are not important. We have to go beyond senses and then realize that what the soul is like that. So any sense perception that comes to our mind, it is not soul. It is not the experience of pure soul. Second, pure soul is not even the direct subject matter of senses. Okay, senses are beyond senses it is there. But can we say that soul is a subject matter of senses? Then Acharya says that no, it is not the subject matter of senses. It is something different. It does not depend at all in any way on the senses. It has its own automatic and working system, functioning system, which does not grow through senses. In a Mati Shuddha Gyan, senses do help to some extent, but otherwise it is not. Okay. Then the next point. The pure soul cannot be visualized or conjectured. If somebody can visualize, okay, or do some guesswork, conjecture, assume that it is like that through some symbols or like that, it is not possible. Just like if you look at the smoke, then we can say that, yeah, there may be fire there, okay. That kind of a guesswork we can do about smoke, about the worldly things. But such a guess is not possible about the pure soul. If someone is experiencing it, is not possible. Because somebody may sit quiet, somebody may close the eyes, and somebody may just do some meditation and like that. That doesn't mean that he is experiencing the soul. What he is doing inside, we don't know. Okay. So for experience of the soul, he has to go beyond subject senses. He has to go beyond the subject matter of senses. You understand the distinction. Senses by themselves, and then what senses perceive. That is the subject matter. And then what with the help of senses, okay, we cannot see, but can we conceive, can we imagine? Can we imagine that soul is like that? Just as we can guess or come to a conclusion after seeing the smoke that there is a fire. So then it is not possible. That's what it says here. Then the fourth point. It is slightly different than the previous one. Previous one was based on something like a smoke and then you guess it. Okay. Here that, okay, guesswork through some sense perception. Some perception, not senses, but sense perception. With that, can we explain or can we understand the pure soul? Then say that that is also not possible. Some people, to some extent, partial realization of pure soul can help in further visualization, just as a sample can be used to know and guess about the larger quantity of goods and like that. But it cannot be guesswork, okay? It is not possible. But when you realize a sample, for example, in a Samyak Darshan, somebody realizes the pure soul to some extent, then based on that sample experience, he enlarges or deepens his experience, then it is possible to have something. But otherwise, just as it's possible in a sample case, it may not be possible in terms of pure soul, because unless you have a very clear knowledge about the pure soul, that sampling may be a wrong sampling, like many research studies or these guesswork they do about elections and opinion poll they have. So that they do sampling and like that, but always it is not true, and they are not able to predict exactly what it is like that. So that's how it happens. So it is not possible through sense perception also, that my sense is like, we say, my sense is like that. My sixth, what is it? sixth perception, what to say, five senses and sixth mind, sixth perception says that it is like that. It's not possible. Then the fifth point is there is no property in the soul that it can conjecture about anything. See, knowledge is a property of the soul, so you can acquire the knowledge. Same thing, you can experience the soul because experiencing soul is a property of the soul itself. In the same way, so many things are there. Darshan, Gyan, Charitra, Sukh, Virya, and so many properties of the soul are there. So if you know those properties, then we say that we experience it, then it is okay. But otherwise, it is not possible. So that kind of there is no property, there is no characteristics in the soul which makes it possible to experience it. So by conjecture, it is possible to experience the soul, but it is not through conjecture. There is no such property like that. Sixth point is that the pure soul knows everything directly. No, Kevali Bhagavan or Arant Paramatma, they know everything directly. Pratyaksha Gyan. No. So they know directly, Pratyaksha Prama, because it is its nature, because soul's nature is like that. But in our present state of existence as a human being, although knowledge works indirectly through senses, it is direct in terms of its nature. Okay. Simply what it means is that with senses we know something and we may say it is direct. Okay. But it is not direct. Okay. It may be directly for senses, but not that direct knowledge of the soul. Okay. Just as the Arhat Paramatma knows. Okay. So that kind of a direct perception of the soul is not possible generally. So one has to think and go about beyond these kind of things, beyond senses or beyond uh, basically senses only, to realize, because whatever is perception through sense, it will be only through mundane word or whatever is called Mati Shuddha Jnana like that. But Mati Shuddha Jnana itself can help experience, provided that in the Mati Shuddha Jnana we are able to distinguish between senses and the knowledge beyond it. So as you know, at least 5 types of knowledge. So you can say that it will be in the Shruti Gyan that it will be realized, but not in Mati Gyan. So it is not a subject, because to experience the soul, you don't need Avadhi, Manaparya or Keval Gyan. If Keval Gyan is there, very good. But minimum that is needed is Shruti Gyan, Mati Shruti Gyan. That means that, okay, you know through Mati, but then you go beyond the Mati, that is beyond senses, and try to experience it in Shruti Gyan. That is, you think again what you have known from Shruti Gyan means the second modification, second parya. After knowing from senses, you think again or have a deliberation in mind, thinking about it. And in that particular form, the experience of the soul may take place. But not merely by senses, not merely by Mati Gyan. It has to convert itself into a Shruti Gyan based on Mati Gyan, and then only it is possible to experience the pure soul. So that's how one has to go to a higher level and try to understand the pure soul. Then, if we look at the next point, 7th point, the knowledge of the soul does not depend on external objects or symbols. So that means experience of the soul does not depend on any external things, okay, or external objects. So some guru has taught, so you will experience it. No, external objects have no role. Okay. If you sit under the tree, then it will happen. No. If you sit under the cave or near the seashore, then we can experience the soul. No. Unless you have the knowledge of the soul, it is not possible to experience the soul. And that's why any external objects whatever it is. If I take Diksha, I will be able to experience the soul. No. Unless you have the knowledge of the soul, you cannot experience the soul. So that's why the experience of the soul does not depend on any external. If I do meditation in a Padmasana, it will happen. If I do meditation in Khadagasana, it will happen. If I do meditation in some other way, it is possible to experience the pure soul. No, it's not going to be possible that way, because it doesn't depend on any external objects or any symbol. If I sit in Himalayan mountains, it will happen. No. Or go to Shikharji and meditate, it will happen. No. Until and unless you have the experience, you have the knowledge of the soul, and then conviction about the soul, then only conviction means Ameko Kalishudha, I am the soul only. 73 words. Then only it is possible. Otherwise, it is not possible. So it does not depend on any external objects. Okay, it does not depend on that, but can we get knowledge from that? The knowledge of the soul is not acquired or brought from external objects. It cannot be brought, it cannot be brought from one place to another. The teacher cannot transfer that knowledge of experience to a student, or a husband to a wife, or to a son, or anybody for that matter. It is not transferable. Or from external objects, from gold it will come, or if the statue or the statue is made of gold, okay. Idols, no, not statue, idols of Bhagwan are made of gold or diamond. Then it is possible to experience the soul. No, nothing is possible. If you decorate the temple so much, okay, like some people do it, then we'll be able to, this should be made of gold, this should be made of silver. Like that, if those things are there, we'll be able to experience the soul. No, because the experience comes from within and not from any external object. And that's why all the efforts to experience the soul from external objects is not going to help out. Next point. Can the nature of soul to experience the soul can be destroyed with the passage of time? So no adversaries, no external difficulties, no upsarg, nothing. We have lived in Narka, we have lived as a Nigod life, we have lived for infinite times in Nigod, many times in Narka, many times as animals, many times in Devas also, many times as human being. But the knowledge quality of the soul has not been destroyed, okay. Knowing nature remains eternal. So unless that is realized, that it is eternal in nature, and no external adversaries can facilitate transfer or elimination of the nature of knowledge. Okay. Some people say that if you go through hardships in life, then you can realize the soul better. Some people say you live in a pleasurable life, if you have wealth, etc. With those facilities, you can realize the pure soul. Nothing. Both are not true. It is not possible to transfer the knowledge from any external object, whether it is Guru or great monks or even Bhagwan. Even Arant Paramatma cannot transfer or change the nature of the soul, which is knowing nature. And Paramatma also cannot force any individual or cannot do any gimmick or any mayachari or any wonder that the person will experience the soul. One has to understand, and it will come from within. And once one understands the soul, it is possible to realize it, and it will never be destroyed. Okay. Whether this life or next life or infinite lives, the knowing nature of the soul cannot be destroyed, and hence it can be experienced at any time. Of course, Sangi, Panchendriya, all those things are required. But otherwise, to manifest that experience, that external things are needed as a nimit, as a facilitating factors and not exactly as a causal factor. We discussed about causal things, so not as a causal factor. They do not cause it, but they facilitate. Okay, like if you are sitting in a good place, we can study better, but not a rule. Because if you're sitting in a better air condition, whatever, some place like that, or cozy place, it is possible to study or meditate and experience the soul, but it is not necessary. Not everybody will be able to do so. Those who know the soul can experience, but not otherwise. So this ninth point gives the good news also, that no matter what happens, otherwise somebody will say that, oh, I've lived in so many places for so many billions and billions of years, infinite times. So my ability to experience the soul would have been diminished or eroded or whatever, would have diminished or polluted or corrupted or like that. It is not so. It remains the same. What a fantastic statement by Acharya, that don't bother and don't depend on others, that somebody will transfer it. No. A teacher can also teach, but it is for the students to experience. Okay? A teacher cannot transfer the experience if he has experience, and teacher cannot also transfer the knowledge to student unless the student wants to know it. And if student wants to know it and learns it, then it is student's efforts and not that of a teacher. वो घूंट नहीं पिला सकते, like that. So experience of the soul is possible only that way, not other way. 10th point, the soul's own focus is on pure nature. It does not have impurity. There is no impurity in the soul itself. Okay, it has its own nature and its own focus, and that's why there is no impurity in the soul. It is to be removed. Pure soul is to be known. Pure soul means it is without passions, it is without karmas, dravya karma, bhav karma, and no karma. All those three things are not there in the soul. And it is independent of that. If that is understood, which is made of knowledge, then it is possible to experience the soul. So it doesn't have any impurity. That impurity is only these karmas have not polluted the soul. No. Karmas are polluted the soul in the sense that it has blocked the vision, but soul remains as it is from time immemorial. Whatever, infinite times, it remains the same. And that is why there is no need to worry. You just focus on your own self, on pure nature, okay? Then the experience will take place. It's not bother that हमने बहुत पाप किए हैं and we have done so many sins and like that, how I can experience, God will not make me experience the soul. There is nothing like that. No matter how many bad things one might have done, how many sins might have committed, if one wants to experience the soul, it is possible to experience the soul, provided he is ready for it. He has acquired the knowledge of the soul. It is possible. So that's how it has to be understood. Then, what I just tried to explain it indirectly, the point is very, very clear now. The soul is unbound. Soul never gets binded by the karmas, okay? Unassociated with karmic particles. Pure soul does not have karmic bondage. The pure soul has no bondage. Pure soul doesn't have karmic particles or atoms. They are just like that two sticking material, okay? So even if two things are stick together, they still remain separate, okay? In the same way, it remains unbound and unassociated with karmic substances. Karmic substance is a inanimate matter. It is a pudgal matter. And so it cannot influence or do anything. That's its nature, okay? Out of ignorance we do, and we take a pleasure, or we do believe in good karmas and like that. It's out of ignorance. But if somebody is determined and understand this nature, there is one tries to do some meditation and one feels that no, my karmas are, my record is not good, I will not be able to experience the pure soul. No, it is not like that. You make an effort by knowing the pure soul, and then it is possible to experience the pure soul. That is the way to realize the pure soul. Next point. A soul does not enjoy the senses or its subject matter. We say, I'm enjoying music, or I'm enjoying lecture, or I'm enjoying if you go to Switzerland, like all those kind of things. Soul doesn't enjoy, okay? It is our false sense which we say that I've enjoyed it. You can enjoy the drinks or whatever, all the things. Any sense matter, any subject matter, soul does not enjoy. It is our false belief that we feel that we are enjoying, okay? It is senses that experience, okay? And since we don't know the soul, we think that senses are enjoying. And so long as this guilt remains that I'm not able to enjoy or something like that, it is not possible. So one has to realize that senses do not enjoy and enjoy the things. Sukh and dukkha are experienced by the soul only, but out of ignorance, we are not able to perceive what is good and bad for me. And that's why we think that we are enjoying. But what then soul enjoys? Soul enjoys its own abundant and infinite nature, okay? Soul enjoys its own nature, which has infinite knowledge, infinite vision, infinite vigor, infinite happiness, ananchatushtay. All those things are there in the soul. So one who wants to experience the soul has to look at those kind of properties of the soul, which are of infinite nature. If you think of infinity and infinite characteristics of a soul, then it is so easy to experience it because you know what you want to experience. Okay. But if you're looking at senses or the subject matter of senses, it is not possible to enjoy those kind of things. Next point. Its life is energized neither by senses nor by mind. Soul's energy doesn't come. It doesn't have to be charged like we charge telephones, cell phones, and laptops and so many things. There is no need of charging the soul. Okay, it automatically gets charged. Okay, automatically energized. So senses or mind doesn't energize the soul. It is automatic. It remains like that. Its life is characterized by consciousness, and consciousness is energy. So we don't have to depend on other objects to really know the pure soul or experience the pure soul. A soul does not take the shape of senses as a body parts or a ear, eye, tongue, etc. And is not even instrumental in the reproduction of species in the world. Okay. Soul is not responsible for children that are born. Okay. They have their own karmic particles and karmic substances, and because of that, reproduction of species takes place in this universe. Nobody is responsible for that. And body or body parts such as ear, tongue, etc., and their shape, a soul has not done it. Okay? It is karmic substances which design whether a person is handsome or beautiful or ugly or whatever in terms of physical appearance. And in terms of wisdom, etc., all those things are decided by the other things and not by the soul. I thought there is some message question. No, it's okay. Chat.
Sir, I wanted to ask one question, sir. Sir, it is written there that the soul reproduces its own pure forms. So, what is the meaning of this, sir?
Which one number you tell, please?
Sir, 14th number, sir. 14th number, second line.
Yeah. I expected some questions to take place so that it doesn't become very abstract. Otherwise, it is a very abstract subject. So if you keep on asking questions, then it becomes easier, and you also understand better, and then it becomes lively. Otherwise, it's really abstract until and unless we understand it. Now, what it says is that, say, our body has a particular shape, no, as we know, because of the spaces and like that. So it is not designed by soul. That's what you want to say. Okay. If our nose is of a particular type, or eyes are of a particular type, or color of the body is particular type, it has happened because of karmic substances, the karmas that was uh, created or bound in the previous life. Okay. Soul is not responsible for that in a way, and it cannot be the work of soul. Soul knows only. Knowledge is the property of the soul. So that means body or body parts and all those things, or instruments, reproduction, etc., that is not the work of soul. Okay. Then what is the work of soul? So that's answered in the third line. First we say what is not the work of soul. Okay. Now the third line says that what is the work of the soul? Then soul reproduces its own pure forms. The modification, we have a modification now, but that parya is looking at or directing us ourselves or focusing on external objects. So when the soul focuses on its own nature, experiences the soul, then the modification, the parya that will take place will also be pure. To have a pure form, we have to look at the pure form of the soul. Okay? Then only that kind of modification will take place. But we are not looking at it, we are looking at external objects. Then how that parya will take place, how that modification will take place. And if there is a pure modification, pure parya or forms takes place, then that is instrumental in liberation. Okay, that will lead to moksha. Not these modifications which are based on senses, okay, which are inspired by the senses and like that, by looking at external or enjoying the external objects. That's why people talk of diksha and like that. You could give up everything, but give up everything and do what? Experience the soul, okay? Experience the pure soul. So if you don't have experience of the pure soul, then how do we, if you don't have the knowledge of pure soul, how do we experience it? So that's why it is said here that if you want to experience the pure soul, which is the objective of life, which is the objective of Samayasara, which is the objective of a Jinvani, that we have to understand, then at some point in our thinking, we have to get out of this and concentrate or focus on the eternal nature of the pure soul, and then the modifications will also take place. In other words, Atma or the soul is responsible for its own modifications, pure soul's modification, but not responsible for modifications that are looking at external things, looking at money, health, wealth, all those things, or image, positions, house, body parts. Though they cannot help in achieving the experience. That's what it says.
Sir,
Ayush,
can
I
I,
hope it's.
sir, can I add something to what you said, sir?
Okay.
Can I add, sir?
Yes. Okay, sure.
If I can say in Hindi, the pure soul is Gyayak Swabhav. So the Paryay
Right.
also has to be of Gyayak Bhav, emanating from the Trikali Dhruv Dravya. That is what you mean,
Right.
sir? The soul reproduces its modification.
Yes.
तो वो ज्ञान की पर्याय ही आत्मा करती है.
बिल्कुल.
That is what I think is the meaning of that sentence.
Yeah, that's it really it, but I didn't want to use the word gayak, but Samayasara uses, of course, in sixth and verse and so on. So it is like that. And in description in Pravachan also, they use the word gayak and things like that. So it is right. What Madam says is very right. It has to be understood only that particular way.
All of you, please ask questions uh,
Yeah.
at the end of
Then
Sir,
only you'll be able to follow. Yeah.
Sir Devakumar here.
Let's,
So
yes.
when the karma bonding is happening, because every now and then we are keep on accumulating the karmas, correct?
Right. Right. Right.
So this is not the sole reason, because the karma is actually putgal.
Yeah.
So
It is
it is
Putna.
happening on its own. But one way or the other way, soul is also responsible as a nimitta karma, correct?
Okay.
Correct. So
Right.
what kind of impact scientifically, how this is impacting for this karma bonding? Can you elaborate, sir?
No, it's okay. What okay, let me explain it the way I understand. Okay. That you said that it is a nimit, one point.
Correct.
What does nimitta means?
It
So
is also
nimit
a
means
reason.
presence.
Okay.
No, it is a reason. You can use the word reason, no problem, but not a causal factor.
Not the cause. It is also one of the reason which is impacting to
One of the reasons.
one of the reason.
One
Correct.
of the external reason. One of the external reasons, if you use it that word. Okay.
Okay.
So nimit is a peripheral things. The real thing is the soul. Okay. So anyway, when the karmic bondage takes place, soul does not know or does not remain in Gyayak Bhava, as just was put, and that gets attracted towards the other things. So karmic bondage takes place, but that bondage does not take place in the soul itself. It takes place in the bondage itself. Accumulation of karma, I use the word, no? So atoms get accumulated and they get associated with the soul, but they have not affected the soul. They get associated. They are together, like the dust settles on the table or on a gold ornament, but it does not spoil it. That's what we want to say. Okay.
No, understood.
That
The soul will not have an impact, and the other way, soul is not getting impacted. But I want to elaborate, like, what is the impact, or maybe how it is becoming one of the reason for this bonding. Can you elaborate, sir?
No, it becomes a reason. Let us start first, as you rightly said. I mean, just narrate the points. Like first, it is a nimit. Second, that it is there and binding takes place. Okay, not we are not saying that binding doesn't take place. Binding does take place. Okay. But whether the binding has spoiled the nature of the soul, that's what we are trying to explain. Okay. So the binding of karmas, although get associated with the soul, it has not spoiled its nature, because soul remains in its own way within
Understood.
itself. Okay. And so karmic bondage do emerge, they come to there and then go away. Binding takes place and go away, like that. So it is all
Okay, sir. One this thing, because in all our ragams, it's written as soul is taking place during the
the soul
for all the five
externally.
senses. Sorry, sir.
Yes, tell.
Okay, so
Because
while we are
your point
seeing,
has to be understood.
yeah, while we are seeing, or while we are sensing, okay, either by our body, or maybe from our mouth, or maybe from nose, or from ear, what happens is that, okay, the soul is basically understanding, or maybe gaining, or maybe getting the information, or maybe knowledge to the soul. Okay, because when there is a soul in the body, then only these things, all these senses can work. Otherwise, these senses cannot work. Correct?
Yeah, very true. But they are a nimit. That's all, nothing else. They are there.
Okay.
You are right. It works only when you are very right. It works only when the soul is there. But the relation, the eternal relation, that's what you have to understand. Okay. If karma is a eternal relation with the soul, then it will, once bound, it will remain like that. Okay. then there will be no question of destruction of karmas. So karmas is a temporary, or for some time it gets associated with the soul and then it goes away. So it has a nature to perish. It can perish. And even otherwise, with the rise of karma ka udaya jab hoga, and this shedding will take place, nirjara will take place, and like that, it keeps on happening all the time. Every moment, binding takes place. At the same time, shedding also takes place. Not in the sense of moksha marg, path to moksha, but otherwise in normal way, Samaprabhuti concept that it will come and go. Karma's particles come and go. So that is happening. So what we are trying to say here is that if you want to, I mean, your points are okay, but we are talking about experience of the soul. So what
The
we are
experience
saying
of the
is,
soul is, I understood, sir. I think I fairly understood. Thanks. But
okay.
no, only this thing is then when these things are happening, okay, because they are not closely bonded, or not the upadan reason actually. Okay, it's only the nimit reason.
Right.
So these all
Very
understood. So then, what is the role of Purusharth in the soul actually, if that is the case?
Okay, very good. Excellent. So role of Purusharth is to know the Purush. Purush means soul. Okay. The meaning of the word Purush is soul. And Artha means its meaning. Okay. So the more to understand the meaning of the soul is the Purushartha. Okay. So we understand the nature of soul, that itself is Purushartha. And to make efforts to experience the soul, that is Purushartha. The rest of the things, what we do as a Purushartha, it is only karmic bond substitution. That is a pap karmas or sins, we try to substitute with punyas. Okay. But that still remains karma. So Samayasara, one chapter on pap and punya. That's very clear there. So we have to understand that way. Your point is very well taken, and you are right. Okay, that if the soul is not there, how it will function? Yes, it is. But when soul is looking or gazing through karmas, okay, its energy dwindles, energy gets reduced. Through senses, if it does it, energy is reduced. But if it looks at pure soul itself, then the energy enhances and one is able to experience the soul and ultimately get Kevalgyan, omniscience state. That's what we try to express. So Purushartha, yes, in every act that is aimed at, like we say, na punyam samagrama kamana juhomi. No. So when we say have a darshan of Bhagwan, if you go to temple, for example, a darshan or of Bhagwan can yield two things. Is an example. You can take some other things. Fast you can take. Two things can take place if you are doing a fast. Okay. First is that yes, fasta will yield punya. If you do fast, upavas, then it will lead to bondage of good karmas, bondage of auspicious karmas. Okay, that is one side. But at the same time, if you look at the soul, that I am a soul and I am a anahari, I do not eat, and the soul doesn't have that nature of taking food, but soul has a nature of remaining within itself with its own engrossment. If these two things are there, okay, what do we choose? That's the question. It is not that it is not there. Okay, karmics are there. When a fast is done, or a pilgrimage is done, or one goes to Shikarji, or any other thing, when you read a scripture, when you do Samayik, all those things, all activities which are considered to be good or bad, whatever it is, all these activities lead to karmic bondage. Some activities lead to bad karmas, and some activities lead to good karmas. But the point here is that when these things are taking place, what is happening to the soul? So when this karmic bondage is taking place, we are not looking at the soul, we are looking at external things. And so long as we look at the external things, it will not happen. So there is a choice between knowing about the soul and knowing about the external things. So if we keep on concentrating on external things, we will not be able to know the soul. Both the things are there together. Just as you look into the mirror, no? Mirror is also there and our face reflection is also there. And there is a reflection in the mirror also. In mirror, two things, mirror and our reflection. So what do you choose? That's the thing. We acquire the knowledge of our face or whatever. So two things are there, very true. Karmas are also there and soul is also there. Both the things are there. Without that, the existence has no meaning. You know? Whatever modes of life human being are there, all two things are there. We are bundle of karmas and we are a soul also. So the preaching here or whatever Samayasara says is, yes, karmas are there. Karmic bondage is taking place. It's not denied, okay? It is there. But don't focus on that thing. You focus on the soul and the nature of soul. Then the karmic bondage will be less and less. It will diminish. Somewhere a nirjara will take place. And all karmas will get eliminated. And then you acquire the experience, the pure soul. And ultimately have Keval Gyan. That's what all about. Okay? It is not to deny anything. But when things are taking place simultaneously, how do we experience? That is the thing. Okay, I will try
Thank you,
to
sir. Thank you.
conclude in last 2-3 points. Where does the soul live?
Sir, please unmute yourself, sir. Sir, I muted everybody, so you also continue.
So, where does the soul
Hear you, sir.
Okay. So, where does the soul live? That's what again, soul does not live in karmas. It lives in its own innumerable place of its own places. So then where is karma? Karma is only of the outer, like a sticking material. It is outside the soul. It is stuck with the soul. Lot of strong, like a Fevicol, if two things are stuck and like that, it is very strong karmas. But karmas have never entered into the soul. So that's what you have to understand well. And so it is like that. And the soul in its physical appearance or feeling is neither feminine nor masculine nor important. Soul doesn't have a gender, okay? Soul has its own, it is independent and it does not have even characteristics of animal, human beings or any emotional characteristics. They're all due to karmas. Okay, so here in light of a question that was raised, we would understand that both the things exist together. Emotions also exist, physical. They are the product of karmas and not of the soul in that sense. If you have to blame the soul, yes, it is. It is caused by the soul because of lack of knowledge. Soul has not acquired its own knowledge and that has led to karmic bondage or wrong belief. That's what mithyatva. Wrong belief has led to karmic bondage. Then the next is the soul has nothing to do with external religious symbols that we have been talking. Now the last point is to understand this Dravya Gun Parya. Okay. Particular attribute means gun and pure forms means parya, modification, and the last is dravya. Three things are there. When the experience takes, this is the crux of the whole experience of the soul. When the experience takes place, whether we experience the gun, attribute, or experience the form, that is modification, or experience the substance. That's the question. And the answer is, of course, that soul cannot be comprehended by particular एक गुण के द्वारा आत्मा का अनुभव नहीं हो सकता. A particular attribute cannot lead to experience of the soul because it's the infinite and indivisible properties, divisible properties. Then soul cannot be envisaged in a particular form also, because if you experience a form, a paryaya, a modification, then the modification will die the next minute. It will change. So then the soul will die with that particular modification. So it cannot be experienced that way. Then what do we really experience? So the pure form of a soul is also independent of substance, and the experience of the pure form is the experience of the soul. You see, things change, okay? What happens is that we try to experience the pure soul, that is Gyayak Bhav, the eternal nature of the soul, but that pure soul or the eternal nature of the soul does not come and manifest. But when it manifests, what we experience is the experience of the soul, that is of pure form and not of substance.
May I request you to tell this point
Because
in
if we
Hindi?
experience this substance,
May I request you
अच्छा,
to tell this point
नहीं,
in
जब
Hindi?
आत्मा का अनुभव होता है, यस यस, जब आत्मा का अनुभव होता है तो हम गुण का अनुभव करते हैं आत्मा के. कर्मास आर आउटसाइड नाउ, कर्मास आर लेफ्ट above, that it is beyond the karmas. Now we come to the soul itself. Within the soul, whether ये विदिन सो आत्मा के भीतर ही क्या हम गुण का अनुभव करते हैं, आत्मा के गुण जैसे दर्शन, ज्ञान, चारित्र, सुख, वीर्य, उनका अनुभव करते हैं एक एक का, तो उसका उत्तर होगा कि नहीं, एक गुण का कैसे अनुभव करेगा, तो नहीं हो सकता. एक गुण के अनुभव से आत्मा का अनुभव नहीं हो सकता. दूसरा पॉइंट ये कि 19वें में कि क्या हम आत्मा के किसी पर्याय का अनुभव करते हैं कि पर्याय में क्या हो रहा है, लेकिन पर्याय का भी अनुभव नहीं करते हैं, क्योंकि पर्याय का अनुभव करेंगे तो पर्याय नेक्स्ट मोमेंट डिसअपीयर हो जाती है, खत्म हो जाती है. पर्याय की मर्यादा एक समय की है, तो इसलिए पर्याय भी खत्म हो जाएगी तो आत्मा खत्म हो जाएगी. इसलिए व्हेन वी एक्सपीरियंस द सोल या सिद्ध भगवान जो उसको एक्सपीरियंस हो रहा है, वो पर्याय का भी एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है. तो फिर सत्य क्या है कि सत्य ये कि क्योंकि द्रव्य तो पर्याय में आता नहीं, क्योंकि द्रव्य पर्याय में आ जाए तो पर्याय का भी द्रव्य का नाश हो जाए. इसलिए द्रव्य पर्याय में नहीं आता, लेकिन पर्याय का, द्रव्य का ज्ञान पर्याय में आता है, ऐसा कह दीजिए. और वो ज्ञान का अनुभव पर्याय में ही होता है, इसलिए वास्तव में जो अनुभव होता है वो पर्याय में ही होता है. लेकिन पर्याय अनुभव किसका करती है कि पर्याय अनुभव ज्ञायक भाव का करती है, त्रिकालिका करती है, शाश्वत आत्मा उसका अनुभव करती है. इतनी सी बात है, बस ये समझना.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
एक मिनट फिर रिपीट करके समाप्त करता हूँ. हाँ,
You'll have to repeat in English, sir.
okay. Now the point is that what do we experience? Do we experience a particular attribute of the soul? Now this is talking within the soul. Karmas left outside now. There is outside material because they are Pudgal substance. So we are experiencing the soul. So when you experience the soul within, do we experience the attribute or a guna or a particular characteristics of the soul, like Gyan, Darshan, similar one by one, or like that? Then the answer is no, because soul has infinite attributes. So you cannot, by one attribute, you can understand everything and experience everything. Soul is indivisible, infinite. So through a particular attribute, it is not possible to experience the soul. Okay, not through attribute or characteristic. Then can we experience through the pure form, the modification, paryaya? Can paryaya, do we experience the paryaya? So the answer is no, because if we experience the paryaya, paryaya dies, and the experience will also, and the soul will also die. So it cannot be an experience of the soul. Sorry, experience of the manifestation, or call it modification or a form. Then what is the real thing? The real thing is described in 20th point. In an experience, what happens? That when we experience the soul, we are facing the Gyayak Bhav, the pure substance, the eternal substance. So we are facing eternal substance. The Paryaya is facing eternal subject, that is looking at the eternal substance, which is soul, pure soul, Param Parinamic Bhav or Gyayak Bhav. So it looks at that. But when it looks at real substance or the eternal substance or Gyayak Bhav, that Gyayak Bhav doesn't come in this Paryaya. It remains aloof, it doesn't come in Paryaya. But what happens that the reflection of Gyayak Bhav comes under Paryaya in the form, in the modification, in the form, in a Paryaya. So what do we experience really? What is the soul's experience is? Soul's experience is experiencing the substance, the Trikali Bhav or Gyayak Bhav in Paryaya. So Paryaya is there also there, and Gun is also there because substance is made of infinite and indivisible properties of particular substance, that in case soul here. So that indivisible soul, which is known as Gyayak Bhav, infinite with infinite properties, is experienced in the particular form, that is in Paryaya, in a particular manifestation or modification. But it does not come under the modification, because if it comes in the Paryaya, that the eternal substance, then when Paryaya dies, the eternal substance will die, the soul will die, but soul is eternal. So experience of the soul means the image or whatever, the experience of the eternal nature will continuously take place in every moment, every Paryaya, and yet it will not come into Paryaya, it will remain as an experience. So experience will take place in every modification, every mode of manifestation. But the real substance does not or is not transferred to the modification, but the experience is that of that only. It is just like looking into the mirror. When we look into the mirror, our face does not enter into the mirror, but the reflection of the face is visible in the mirror. That's all. So if the mirror is removed, the image dies, okay, for example, but the substance remains. So in the same way, but face, the soul or this pure form continuously faces the eternal substance. And that's why Siddha Paramatma or Aran Paramatma, they keep on experiencing the pure soul. And that is the way to experience the pure soul. That is, look at the Gyayak Bhav. So what is said in Samayasara in 6th verse and other places about Gyayak Bhav, what is the role of Gyayak Bhav in experiencing the pure soul is described here. So I conclude with that, and if you have any questions, you can ask, but otherwise it's okay.
Yes, anybody has questions, anything that you have not understood? A very, very important topic that Sir was discussing, experience of the pure soul. And I think every moment it is happening, but we are not realizing it because it is a Trikali Dhruv.
Yeah, that's another.
So Dravya Gun Paryay. You know, so you all know the translations. Words Dravya means the substance, Gun means properties, Paryay means modifications. So you have any questions, please ask, sir.
If you have any doubt and if you don't ask, you will miss the experience. Lighter way, I'm just saying.
Sir, there was a question in another class today, if I can ask, sir.
Yeah.
It is like why the soul is not interested in itself and why we need liberation.
Okay.
Why we need to get out of the cycle of transmigration. What is the need?
Yeah. The first is that why it is not interested, soul is not interested, because it doesn't know about it. No knowledge.
No, sir. When you say the soul has infinite knowledge, infinite power, and everything, why it does not know about itself?
Because we are attracted towards external things. Simply mithya, wrong beliefs. No knowledge about what this universe is. It doesn't know the knowledge. No? We have the knowledge, but we don't know about it. Suppose we have some diamond in our pocket, but we don't know about it. Or we have, example is that in the hand, something is there, our ring is lost, but it is in our hand, but we are not able to see it. So soul is within us and we are soul only, but we have forgotten about it, or we don't know about it, or we are not interested. We are more interested in senses. इंद्रियों के विषय में, external things, Pudgal, we are more interested because we think that we are enjoying that thing. And the answer to the second question is also that way, that why it is so, because we are, why we should get liberation, because we are unhappy at every moment. Who is happy in this world? Okay? Nobody is happy. Every moment, everybody is unhappy. No matter what is the wealth one is having, no matter how good body one has, sickness, diseases, families, country problems, those keep us always busy in misery. Right? Akulta, that's what it say, no? Anxiety is the cause. Anxiety is unhappiness. So this, one has to get rid of it. Otherwise, 2-3 answers are there. Why should we do it? Otherwise, what will happen? We'll be back to Nigoda. So one likes Nigoda life of Narka and all those things. Very good. Don't seek liberation. If that looks a burden, and living a life in Narka for millions of years and in Nigoda for infinite times, if that is what you're liking, then God, I mean, what can we do? I mean, the answer to that question I'm saying. If somebody's liking is that it doesn't matter whether I'm in ego, then I have to die 18 times in every moment and like that, in a small time.
No, sir.
In one life.
Sir, question is, मुझे इंद्रियों का सुख सुख लगता है. So why should I give up this sukh? Why should I give up this sukh? And as you told in the starting,
okay, wait, that's what I'm saying. Keep on enjoying.
Out of millions of
then the result is what? The result is infinite, whatever, transmigration. And
sir, आप freeze हो गए, sir. You're not audible, sir. Hello. We can't hear you, sir. Can anybody hear, sir?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, I think he also can't hear us. Network issue.
Sir, please unmute yourself.
Sir, you're on mute, sir.
so,
No, sir, for few minutes
no.
we could not hear anything, sir, from you.
Yeah, that's okay. But now it is okay. No? I will repeat what I want to say.
Yes.
The point I'm saying is that if we are happy with emotions or whatever else, external life as we perceive now, then it is okay, but that will lead to karmic bondage. And that karmic bondage will ultimately lead to nigot. So if you are not worried about ultimate result, then it's okay by all means. But if you want to be happy eternally, it's a question of eternal misery and eternal happiness. It's that kind of a question, okay? So if one wants to have eternal misery, then okay, go by sensuous pleasures, enjoy it. You may think that you are enjoying, but Arant Paramatma says that you are not enjoying, you are suffering. So that's how we have to make a choice between the two.
So we are ignorant. We are ignorant of the nature of happiness. We are ignorant of the nature of suffering. We are ignorant of the nature of transmigration.
And ignorant of
karmic bondage.
No, property of the soul to become happy. Capacity of the soul, treasure of soul.
Jnananand, sir.
How it can become infinitely happy. So that's why it happens like that. It's a good question. I have faced several times.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Choice. One has to believe in that. If somebody believes that there is no life after this, it's okay. then enjoy, do whatever we want to do.
Yes, can we have the questions and can we have the takeaways from today's class? It's well past 9:30. Sir has been talking for 2 hours. Can you all give your response here, please? What have you understood? Quickly, quickly. 3 people. Otherwise, I won't arrange sir's class if you don't respond, if you don't interact with him. Forget sir. How many people's eyes have been opened today? All of you,
Ma'am,
please unmute yourself.
ma'am, we got to know so many ways, our myths, that this is not what the experience would look like. We don't know what exactly it would look like, but what people used to claim on internet and YouTube, so many people saying that I have experienced this, I've experienced that. So those, we understand that they are not true. So at least we understand that that is not right.
Very good, very good. Sir, it's a very important observation,
Very
sir.
good.
Yes.
Yeah, very good observation. So don't get misguided, don't get illusioned about what people talk about experience. So many groups are there in this world. We are talking about experience of the soul. But what is the soul, they don't understand that what experience they are talking about. Yes, very good observation.
Yes,
Anybody
Ishita.
else?
Quickly, sir. Please.
Yes, we learned different approaches
Yes,
about the Samayasara. In that, we learned a little bit about Anekantavad. That is why the difference between Anekantavad and the Syadvad, that the subtle difference, mild difference. And then again, we learned a little bit about Saptabangi also. And Anekantvad and Syadvad, along with that universal approach of Anekantvad, related to that. And then Sir said that little knowledge is dangerous things. So that is one point which I really like. Along with that, the substance is same, but modifications are changing. Paryay badalti hai. And then the relation was that then again it was explained beautifully with 14 bangas in 14 ways. So
very good.
that's what really caught my eyes. And of course, we have learned the 6 fold cautions. And the experience of soul, again, the 20 points.
So, Ishita, what are you going to do with this knowledge, Ishita, if I can ask you?
Definitely not the last question which you have mentioned, ma'am, that sense pleasure is बहुत खुशी मिलती है, तो why soul के लिए क्यों इतनी मत्थापच्ची करनी? Definitely not like that, but yes, we are suffering for each and every moment, so definitely would like to know more about the soul and how I can experience my own soul. By learning this process of Samayasara, I would definitely like to know more about it, how I can realize my soul, myself, the real me, and not the body, which is Ishita. Thank you, ma'am.
Wonderful observation, I think, sir. That was Ishita. They're all students of first year, sir. They've just completed 1 semester and they are in the 2nd semester. Yes, anybody else? Shreya, do you have any doubt? Usha Rani, clear? Amisha, आपको समझ में आया?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I joined a little late, but I have a question, not with a specific to Samayasar, but since we are having philosophy subject now in our 2nd semester, now even if I believe that there is this concept of life after death, why should I go for Jain philosophy and not other philosophies? Like there's Vedic tradition, they believe about Brahman or other philosophies, Indian philosophy.
Sir, के लिए questions. Sir will answer. Sir, आप mute पर है, sir. You're on mute, sir.
देखिए, you have to, as Todemalji says, you have to do the परीक्षा. Okay. आपको परीक्षा करना होगा कि कौन सा मत सच है, क्यों सच है. That you will have to do it. We cannot answer. But if you ask me, then we have done, I've examined, I've studied almost all types of basic philosophies, and then I feel that this is the best. Not because I'm a Jain, because after study and the way it is there, you see which 2-3 things I will tell. Which religion explains soul in so many ways, okay, at such a depth. Each religion will talk, or each philosophy will talk of soul, but there is hardly any description about soul. Okay. How to experience such a big Samayasara? The original book runs into 500-600 pages. Okay, this is a short version that is made available to you for a one semester course. Okay. So who can talk about what happens entire universe? Which philosophy has the map of the universe, entire universe? Tell me. Jain philosophy is the only philosophy who is in the entire universe. What is at the top of the universe, what is at the bottom of the universe, and everything. Vedic religion does talk about something, Jambudeep and like that, but beyond that, there's no explanation. And what a description of Jambudeep that is available in Jain philosophy, of the entire universe, such a thing, an entire process, and such an ancient history. Which philosophy has so much ancient history from Rishabdev till now? And before Rishabdev also another 24 Tirthankar, before that also another 24 Tirthankar, infinite Tirthankars. And all other philosophies aim at making ourselves enslaved to the whatever God concept they have. Okay.
भक्त बनाना चाहते.
हाँ, भक्त बनाना चाहते हैं, भगवान नहीं बनाना चाहते. So you want to become a bhakt servant, it's okay. I mean, not you, I'm just saying anybody who wants that way, then it's okay. It's an individual choice. Who describes Nigot? Which philosophy describes Nigot so well? An infinite lives, full process of transmigration, Kal Parivartan. Which philosophy describes so minutely? And which philosophy has so minute description of experience of the soul, which runs into hundreds of books? It is not the only book. Samayasara is the main leading book. There is nothing parallel to this, but then there are rest of so many books, and they describe so much. We are discussing Labdhisar in our class, and in one Antarmurak, in few seconds, what happens is described in hundreds of pages. Okay. How anybody can explain? Okay. And whatever scientific inventions are being done now, they corroborate Jain philosophy, whether it's a nanosecond or atom or whatever it is. So there is hardly any, I mean, not because we are Jain, we are boasting about it, but it is really so. If somebody compares this passionately, one will find the same thing.
So she can also ask this question: if Jain philosophy is so great, why should I study other philosophies?
Yeah, that's the thing.
No,
That's
why
what
should
we
I
did.
study? But when
Yeah,
you
it's
study, your faith in what you learn in Jainism becomes very rock solid.
stronger. Yeah, it becomes stronger. We have studied at some place and then changed. In early phase of my life, I was thinking Jain philosophy is only one model. One can lead any way of model of life, and that is okay. And I try to study all Vedic philosophy, all those things, including Bible, Quran, all those things. Then we realize that our questions never get satisfied there. Okay. Jain philosophy is the only platform where even the subtle, very sukshma questions will also be satisfied. Your curiosity will be satisfied. What happens in Siddhashila also will be satisfied. You name anything, why a person becomes animal will be satisfied. Other philosophy will stop First of all, some philosophers do not believe that animals are a soul. And those who believe, they say, okay, you do some bad karma, so you become what bad karma? They have no answer. Here, karmas are described in infinite ways. Okay, 148 is only categorization. And how karmic bondage takes place every moment. Infinite particles in 1 unit of time. Infinite particles come and get associated with the soul, what is called Samayasara. Which philosophy can talk about it? And how the karmic particles get destroyed, that also explained in great details in Gunsan and other concepts. So if you have any real philosophical curiosity, even the other Vedant people accept, okay. Even Rajnath Singh and they accept, okay. Even the Vedic scholars accept that Jain philosophy is great. Okay? And Jain acharyas and their sacrifice, their tapasya is great. No comparison to that. I heard even Rajnath, the defense minister, saying that if Hindu philosophy, Vedic philosophy is doing like master's degree, and Jain philosophy is like doing PhD in the subject. He was saying once like that. Is that in YouTube? You can listen to that. So those.
Yes, sir. Please continue.
No, those who are knowledgeable, they also appreciate Jain philosophy. Those who do not know, they will talk anything. Anyway, that's some answer like that.
See, what I would like to say, Amisha, is like when you go to the market to buy something, supposing you want to buy a dress, there are 10 varieties of dress. You see all the variety and then you pick yours. Likewise, there's a variety of philosophies. You compare them and then you see how different and how unique and how scientific, logical it is. Then you accept it without any doubt. Then your faith is grounded in rationality, logic. You're sure of things. Otherwise, you have not seen other things. Then you are seeing this only. Then you may wonder, there may be other ways of moksha. There may be some, you won't be having right faith. Right? So that is why comparative study is also a part of Jain studies, you know. And all our books talk about different philosophies.
No, but I appreciate the point. I appreciate the point that if you want to study other philosophy, study and come to conclusion.
Come to a conclusion. Yes.
Yes.
You read Totem, he always say that pariksha karo, pariksha karo. If you accept that because somebody has said, you accept because Kunda Acharya said or any Acharya has said, then you will not understand the depth of it. You apply your mind and try to understand it well. Then you will realize that this is the best.
It's all common sense logic. Yeah. Common sense. Yes, sir. We'll close with this three observations. Okay, sir.
Okay.
We'll do the prayer.
Yeah, okay. Somebody is waiting for me, so I will.
निज निधि निज में बताई यह अनंत उपकार है उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना शत बार है. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We'll meet again on Saturday, sir, with Pravachan, sir.
Okay.
Will it be okay with you, sir?
Not this Saturday.
Not this Saturday, sir. Then next Thursday only. Then again.
Okay.
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 So please note, next Thursday we'll have Pravachan, sir. If you want more lectures on Samayasara, then maybe after 1 or 2 months we can again have.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.